the Radio Forest Podcast.
Hey, Forrest. We're riding high out here in Cleveland, Ohio. We hosted the 2021 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremonies on Saturday night, and our crew is exhausted but exhilarated. So wonderful to be on with you today.
Quite the ceremony. It's different every year. I've got a ton of questions about what happened and the future, but I like to mix things up and try to ask you some questions because I know you're doing a shitload of interviews. I want to get you some different stuff. Who's going to win the World Series? Who do you have?
Oh, boy. I don't know if you know this, but I spent 14 years working for the Baseball Hall of Fame, so I love this question. I'm a big fan. I was wiped out, but I watched last night's game, and I think it's going 7. And at this point, it's anybody's ball game. But the Braves are peaking at the right time. They're doing it with a lean pitching staff, and they may pull it out. At the same time, Dusty Baker, he knows his stuff, and he knows how to get his team motivated. So it's too close for me to call, probably 60-40 Braves, but let's see what happens.
What motorcycle part are you buying next? Because if you own a motorcycle, you're always buying parts, especially if it's an older one.
Oh, yeah. I'm due for a little cleanup. I need new tailpipes on an older 69 bike I have. So maybe it's going to be some mufflers and some work over the winter. Out here, like in Boise, we're going to see some snow soon. So hopefully we'll get a couple more warm days to ride. But, man, it's coming fast, gang.
Recently, I was at a record store and saw a Rolling Stones album I'd never even heard of, couple $100. What are some of the most expensive vinyl you've seen sold or have sold yourself?
Boy, that world keeps evolving. And some of the earliest stuff that was super valuable were those early Frank Zappa records on Verve that were hard to come by. Vinyl has had such a resurgence that, I think you're asking me this because I owned a record store many years ago. The other fun one is picture sleeves from 45. Some of the Stones ones are really valuable. And some of the early punk rock stuff is on fire because they only made a few copies of each 7-inch and each single. So some of that early punk rock is just huge.
Pat Smear with the Foo Fighters inducted Saturday with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame by Sir Paul McCartney, and then they jammed on stage. Nirvana also inducted too. Wasn't Pat a member of Nirvana? I know he was on the live album and was an official member of the band at that point. So is Pat Smear in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame twice, or is he just in once as a member of the Foo Fighters?
He's in once as a member of the Foo Fighters because his tenure with Nirvana was not as long as Chris Novoselic. But there's a really fun connection here, and that is that in the early days of the L.A. punk rock scene, there's a band called the Germs, a very important band. Pat was the bass player in the Germs, and Belinda at one point was in the Germs. So in a way, 2 members of the Germs are now in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame through their other groups.
I heard Bryan Adams got COVID. You guys had to pull a sub short notice. What's that conversation like, and did anybody else turn down the invitation to step in for Bryan Adams?
What's amazing is that Keith Urban came up, not a bad fill-in, and Keith Urban came up and shredded guitar and sang a beautiful, beautiful duet to honor Tina Turner. And we're so honored that he was able to do it, and it's going to be terrific on the November 20th HBO broadcast.
So it's coming out November 20th, HBO. This happens Saturday in Cleveland at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We're talking to Greg Harris. He's the president of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I know Randy Rhoads got an award, but he wasn't inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, if I'm correct, because I don't think Quiet Riot has been, and Ozzy is a solo artist. But Randy did get like a Lifetime Achievement Award or something like that?
No, he's inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Randy Rhoads, Hall of Fame inductee. The reason it's worded that way is because it was through a committee that puts in folks for special musical excellence, and Randy Rhoads is the emblematic of musical excellence. He really defined and elevated Ozzy's solo sound and did some great work himself, and so he's being honored and inducted, and he has a plaque hanging on the wall just like everybody else.
Oh, so he is inducted. It just kind of comes with a little bit different verbiage as what he's done as a guitar player.
Correct. And once in, everybody is equal. They're all coming in through the front door. This isn't like a sideways thing. So he's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame just like the Foo Fighters and just like the Beatles and the Stones and Smokey Robinson and everybody else.
So now Jay-Z, Tina Turner, Foo Fighters, they all are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They'll become part of the committee that helps induct these bands. They vote on who should be inducted. Todd Rundgren inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But yet you guys allowed him to kind of say his piece and the issues he had with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Why is that important to let him say whatever he wants to say, regardless of what it says about your organization?
Yeah, he's being honored for his amazing, amazing career and his great music. And it's sort of up to him how he reacts to that. And he's going to hang here forever. He's on exhibit as part of the 2021 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees. We're just so thrilled to honor this class and glad that he is part of that class and finally being recognized and going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
So if he's declining being part of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame moving forward, will you still send him like a ballot, or does he say, I'm not interested, and you just go, okay, thanks for your time, and then he doesn't have a chance to vote, or will he just kind of politely decline every year?
I think time will tell, but he's being honored and recognized with that elite group of only 351 inductees in the whole history of rock and roll, and he takes his rightful place with all of them in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Let's talk about the Rock Hall itself. I know you guys got a lot of exhibits. Some of them are changing. Some of them get they get beefed up right before the induction ceremony. What kind of stuff is on display now? And also, what kind of security? Is it kind of like the movies where, like, if you move something, lasers and stuff go off? Because some of these are, the last couple of years, we've seen guitars go for phenomenal amounts of money, handwritten lyrics, official clothes, and things like that. So what memorabilia do you have, and what security do you have?
Yeah, well, we are, like every world-class museum, we are very, very highly secure, temperature, humidity controlled everywhere. We treat the piano that John Lennon and Paul McCartney wrote, I Want to Hold Your Hand, and Eleanor Rigby and other great songs on that piano. We treat that like a Van Gogh painting. So it's in safe, secure mode. On exhibit right now, we have incredible things. In the new inductee exhibit itself, we have the piano that Carole King wrote, all of her great songs from Tapestry, and You've Got a Friend, and those ones that just echo through you. We have the Tina Turner dress that she wore in the Private Dancer video. We have pieces from every Foo Fighter on exhibit. We have things from Billy Preston. We have stuff from LL Cool J, all of this year's class. And then throughout the museum, it's everything from Springsteen's guitar to Bowie's outfit to the Supremes dresses. This is the spot that preserves this and shares it with the public.
Now, working for a classic rock radio station, I talked to a lot of bands, just recently talked to Blue Oyster Cult. A lot of these bands still aren't in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and time will tell. So on a personal note, whatever you listen to, buy, still enjoy from time to time, who do you think should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that isn't? Now, not who do you think publicly, but who do you like? You know what band I used to see as a kid, or I used to buy their albums, or I just think is cooler than cool? Who do you think should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that is not at this point?
Yeah, that's a terrific question. And as I sit here with the concert of Saturday night, the 2021 induction ceremony, reverberating, sort of feeling exhausted, what I am going to do is simply say this is the moment to celebrate this year's class. Let's celebrate them. Let's give them the accolades they deserve. And then we'll open the debate for who should be in a couple weeks. But right now, let's celebrate this class, and I'm going to tactfully push off answering your question for a few weeks so that this group gets the recognition they deserve.
I will interpret that as Justin Bieber. You think he is the greatest, and he should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. When will this air? And did you say it's on HBO?
So it's on November 20th on HBO and HBO Max, streaming to the world. It's a major primetime airing. High-end production. It's going to be incredible. And in the meantime, take a look out on social media and on YouTube and places. There's some snippets from the performances that will just knock your socks off. What a night. What a great class. And we're so thrilled to have hosted here in Cleveland, Ohio, and can't wait to share it with the world through HBO on November 20th.
Greg, thanks for the call today.
Thank you. Have a great day.